Hey, hello, welcome back to another wonderful day here at MSA. So glad you could be here, glad you could join us. Now, today I want to just touch base real quick on a simple thing, and it's called American freedom. And we love it. We take it for granted, though. That's part of the problem. You know, we enjoy being able to say what we need to say. A lot of times we feel like our voices aren't heard. You know, we make videos at times, and they don't get out to a lot of people. And it's kind of funny. You know, you ever been on Reddit? And you post something on Reddit and all of a sudden you get this little bot that tells you that your post was removed because it's being, looked at or whatever. It's not supposed to be there. That's all AI technology. And there's other things involved in AI technology. There's these PPPs, they're public-private partnerships. These are companies that get in bed with our government. And our government hires them in order to do the dirty work that the government can't do because they are bound by this thing called our Constitution. And real quick, I'm just going to roll this clip because Tucker Carlson said it the best that I've heard it said in a long time. It's just a little bit over a minute. Just hang in there real quick and we'll be right back. So be right there. Just a second.
The defining fact of the United States is freedom of speech. To the extent this country is actually exceptional, it's because we have the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights. We have freedom of conscience. We can say what we really think. There's no hate speech exception to that. Just because you hate what somebody else thinks, you cannot force that person to be quiet because we're citizens, not slaves. But that right, that foundational right that makes this country what it is, that right from which all other rights flow, is going away at high speed in the face of censorship. Now, modern censorship bears no resemblance to previous censorship regimes in previous countries in previous eras. Our censorship is affected on the basis of fights against disinformation and malinformation. And the key thing to know about these is they're everywhere. And of course, they have no reference at all to whether what you're saying is true or not. In other words, you can say something that is factually accurate and consistent with your own conscience. And in previous versions of America, you had an absolute right to say those things. But because someone doesn't like them or because they're inconvenient to whatever plan the people in power have, they can be denounced as disinformation, and you could be stripped of your right to express them, either in person or online. In fact, expressing these things can become a criminal act and is. And it's important to know, by the way, that this is not just the private sector doing this. These efforts are being directed by the U.S. government, which you pay for and at least theoretically own. It's your government. But they're stripping your rights at very high speed.
Okay, you see the clip? You see what he's talking about? The basis of our country starts with the first freedom, and that is the freedom of speech. And why do you think that's the most important one? Why do you think that's number one? My opinion would be because in foreign countries and in back in the times that our country was founded, if you spoke up against a king, you're done, son. I mean, what are you going to do? They'll behead you, public execution, all kinds of different things would happen because you don't speak up against the king. The king's number one, and the king makes the rules. And you don't like it, too bad. You go do whatever you do, peasant, and get on with your business. But when our founding fathers started this country, they started this thing called freedom. And that's what they were wanting. That's what this is all about. Now, freedom doesn't mean you just run and go do whatever you want and do it to whoever you want. That's not how this works. But under those amendments that are in our Constitution, that First Amendment is super important. That First Amendment was freedom of speech. And like Tucker said, you can even do it in a form of hate, and you can't censor it just because you don't agree with what somebody's saying. That doesn't mean that we, promote hate. Let's not do that to each other. I think we've done that enough over the last several years. I think it's time we start getting back to exercising our rights. And part of our first rights of doing that is really making sure that we start getting in touch with what's going on. There's a lot of people out there right now that don't want. And I know this sounds grim and doom. I get it. Look, the WEF is not in your favor. Biden signed over our country's rights to the World Health Organization if we have another pandemic. Okay? These are all factual things. These are the things that take your rights away from you. Those of us that are here today were either born into this country, So we were born into these rights, or we took an oath because we became a legal citizen of this country that we would stand for these rights and uphold them in order to keep this country maintained and alive. Now, I'm bringing this up because I noticed that on one of our platforms that we're on, we were not getting any hits. Imagine that, the things that we say. If you've seen some of our other videos, on another platform, won't say YouTube because that would be rude, we've got 41 other videos out there. And all of a sudden, they started getting less and less hits. Isn't that amazing? And then you got people like Rumble. That Rumble puts it out so people could see it. And why do they do that? Because they stand behind who we are as Americans, right? Now, of course, Rumble is going to be worldwide, but where does it start? It starts with a basis and an idea. And Rumble started because of the censorship that was being put on YouTube by Google. I'm not even going to get into that. We're going to get into a whole other segment one of these days on Peter Thiel and what Palantir is and how all this stuff came about. And Google is owned by Alphabet Incorporated, and Alphabet Incorporated is owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, some of the largest companies in the world right now. And what do they want? Well, go watch the World Economic Forum and you'll see what they want. They want total control. Goes against what we believe in. And real quick, I got one last thing to say real quick before we cut out of here. A lot of people have been saying that, like, the Republican Party. Now, you could be Republican or Democrat to watch this show. I don't really care, because of the fact that I stand up for Americans. That's who I stand behind. Americans. You want to throw your ideals out there on how we're going to change everything for everybody and make everything better? No, we're not. We're going to go back to what made this country better. What makes this country great is when we all hold hands and hang in there with one another when times get tough and thick. It doesn't matter who's standing next to you. It matters who stands with you. That's the biggest deal here. So we really need to start looking into not just exercising our freedoms. Okay, that's what everybody wants to do. Just run out. Oh my gosh, you got to listen to me, what I got to say. It's so important. How about we stand up for our freedoms and start saying you can't take those away from us, because they're guaranteed. We're an American citizen. That's what we deserve, because we earned it years ago. We had people that earned it for us and gave us a gift, and we need to stand behind it, I think. That's my opinion. So I hope you all hit, the follow button, like, share, subscribe, however you want to look at it. Do me a favor, share. This channel needs to grow. I got a lot of stuff coming out. It's going to get better and better. And you know what? It's amazing. I watched one other little thing, and I'm going to just follow out with this. It's about a minute long, and it's Congressman Biggs sitting next to Higgins in a completely empty chamber. And they're going to explain to you one little thing about what's going on with our country right now. And they're standing there. Everybody else is gone. It's just the two of them talking to the House Speaker. So anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Love each and every single one of you. Whatever it is, day, night, wherever you're at, I hope you're having the best that you ever can have. And I'll see you soon. Take care.